Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of Weekly Pulls on Page Chewing Comics and Manga. Thank you for joining me, and before I get into it, if you're new to the podcast, my name is Steve, and I am returning to comics after a long hiatus of a few years. And each week I come by and discuss a few issues that I picked up the previous week, talk about whether I like them or not, trying to find some books that I can enjoy after a long hiatus. So sometimes it's not always easy to get back into a hobby like this, not knowing where certain storylines are or all the continuity. So I'm just bringing you along for the journey if you would like to come. So thank you for those of you who listen. And also last week, from what I understand, is that if there's a Wednesday that falls near the end of the month, sometimes it's a little light on releases, and I just didn't have very many books to talk about. I think I had 2 that I read. Just a lot of things just didn't interest me. Just couldn't find very many that stuck out for me, so I figured I would wait for a week and then hit both weeks this week. So if you're sorry about last week, if you were waiting for an episode, I'd like to hear from you if you would prefer that I still record an episode, if you're one of the few people who listen. The weird thing about podcasts is when you record an episode, there's not like a comment section or a place where you can interact with your listeners, if there are any listeners. So it's kind of weird. It's almost like talking into the void sometimes. And I've heard other podcasters say that. And being on YouTube, I never really understood it because we have the comment section and we have things you can interact. And there's really not anything like that for comics or for podcasts, unless of course you join the forum, which is where I spend most of my time. So if you'd like to interact with me, let me know what you think or tell me how wrong I am. Visit pagechewing.com and join our forums. We have a great little community there where we discuss books, comics, movies, music, damn near everything. So come by and say hello. We're a really friendly bunch, and we'd love to have you if you'd like to join us. So I have a few books to talk about this week. The first one is Tenement issue 3. This is by Jeff Lemire and Andreas Sorrentino. It's by Image Comics. So I'm also reading Gideon Falls, and I'm starting to see some similarities in presentation, which I really like. I like that they have similar tones and colors and layouts and things like that, and I really like that. Not a complaint at all. I love it. I can't get enough of it. So in this issue, we do follow the remaining tenants, and they don't exactly find what they expect. They pose some questions in the issue, like are places evil or are people evil? Do places make people evil, or the other way around? As usual, like I mentioned, the artwork is spectacular. Paneling, colors, especially the use of red, is very effective in this one. When there's in the layouts, the red really pops because of the other tones and other colors that they use. So just fantastic in that regard. Now there are some parts in this one where I felt like the dialogue was a little stiff and predictable, but overall, another good issue. To some of the dialogue and things that people say was what you would expect them to say. It's almost like you could predict what was about to happen next, and they do things that I don't know that most normal people would do in this situation, but you can't have people hesitate and not do anything, otherwise the story would never go anywhere. So I get it, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite issue of the series. I'll put it that way. It's still good, but another thing I've noticed is I'm sure all of you who listen, who read comics know this, but it's hard to judge a series like this that you can tell has a wide scope and has a plan. They go in with a really specific plan and things they want to do, and it's almost made for more. It's almost designed more like for trades or for trade paperbacks, because the presentation in those is a little different. And I think the single issues are, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there's still a lot of thought put into it, but I think the bigger goal, understandably, because trades sell better than single issues from what I understand, and for longer, is that they want to build around a trade and have something for people like me who love the hardback trades or the presentation, to have something that feels like an arc or feels like something they can take home with them. So I get it. So a series like this is hard to judge issue by issue. I'm trying to keep that in mind because while I'm enjoying it, it's hard to get bite-sized pieces. It's nice when you have the trade and you can read, 6 issues at a time. When they're spread out over the course of a couple of months, it's just a different experience. So I almost wonder if single issues are for me with this one. But overall, great issue. The next one is World Tree number 5. Now, World Tree is a series that I started reading for the podcast. It's a book that I picked up while I was looking for a new series to pick up. And with James Tynion and Fernando Blanco, you can't really go wrong, right? This is also published by Image Comics. And, I have kind of a soft spot because it reminds me of beginning this podcast, this series does. And we do start to get a few answers, but we also get more questions. It's that kind of that, cycle of a couple of things get answered, but there's more questions. We do peek into the future, or maybe possible future. Not quite sure if that's for sure. Those events are for sure going to happen that we get a peek on. In this issue, I did wonder. There's a section without giving too much. There is a section of this issue that is supposed to give you an idea of things that are out of control on the internet and all these terrible things are happening. And it kind of made me question because it seemed like a normal day on the internet, all these really terrible things happening. It seems like everywhere you turn, there's something to be upset about. There's something to either be upsetting or to anger you or to get you, to get your emotions involved in it. And I wonder what that does to us just in general over time and whether or not our brains are built for that. I don't know they're not, but it does kind of shine the mirror back at you while you're reading this one, at least for me, on what does this really do to you? Because this doesn't seem like it seemed like an everyday on the internet kind of thing, not like oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, yeah, that's Tuesday. So, it is, it did shine a mirror back on me anyway, that I kind of felt like, I wonder what this does to us every day. So we do get, like I said, we do get some answers in this one with the story, artwork again. It is a little bit, it's not as detailed as I would like my artwork to be, not as defined, but still very good. We're getting bits and pieces, so I'm still on board. I'll still continue it, but maybe the point of this section that I referenced about, all the terrible things on the internet, maybe that's just part of what the creative team was trying to get us to reflect upon. So, World Tree number 5, still on board. I'm too deep into it now to turn back. So we're going with it. The next one is Swan Songs number 3. This is by W. Maxwell Prince and art by Felipe Andrade. This is by Image Comics. This is the end of the world. Every issue is a different theme. So we have it's an anthology series with I believe every issue is written by W. Maxwell Prince, but there's different artists that come through to, lend their art. And this series has been spectacular. This third issue, I still love the series. This third issue was good. It just isn't my favorite. So it was still good, but it wasn't the best. So it had a little bit of a twist in this one, and it had some black humor that I wasn't expecting, because the first two took themselves pretty seriously. I felt like they were pretty serious in tone and presentation and very emotional and hard hitting. While there were some funny parts, humorous parts in issue 2, issue 3, I kind of felt leaned more into the humor, or at least the dark humor. And I didn't mind that. That was fine. The art fits the story, especially the colors. We're in a post-apocalyptic world, as I'm sure, as you can probably guess from the title, The End of the World. And the art felt like it's very bright, very disorienting, and it fit the theme and the kind of the style of the story. The two meld together very well. So it gives you that post-apocalyptic feel. There's also some religious undertones and themes that you can pull out if you wanted to. but it doesn't bang you over the head with these themes. They're there if you want to explore them. So that to me is a more effective way of getting a point across, when you're very subtle with it and when you just kind of leave it there and let the reader digest it and kind of work it, process those things on their own without being so heavy-handed with it. So I appreciated that. And overall, another good issue. Like I said, not my favorite, but still very solid. Very, very good. Now, for the next one, these last two, I was really hesitant to pick a pick of the week because these last two were both very good, and I've been dreading having to pick one. It's tough. But the next one I'm going to talk about was almost my pick of the week, but obviously I guess I'll just decide on the fly since I keep putting it off, and I just figure I'll decide as I'm recording, and here I am. So this one, I'm going to say the next one is Kill Your Darlings, number 1. This is by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan. This is also Robert Quinn is on art, and the art in this one is, I love the artwork on this one. It very, very, all the lines are very thick, all the colors are very very vibrant. The characters are great. I just love all the colors, the scenes, the layouts, everything was really great. In this one, we follow a young girl and her mother, and we follow the adventures of the young girl in her imagination and how it relates to reality. And the way that we flip back and forth between the young girl's imagination and reality was just done so well. And I just loved it. It was so effective and heart-wrenching and touching. I loved it. Just the artwork pops off the page. While this doesn't have a ton of plot, it does a lot to set things up. So I feel like we're setting things up, and it doesn't have a ton. It's still a lot when you reflect back on it. I feel like there's a lot. It doesn't feel like it's a lot when you read it, if that makes any sense. What this one does, though, is it conveys a lot of emotion and makes you really care for the character, especially the daughter. And I wonder where it's going to go from here, but some really, really great stuff. This is nearly my pick of the week. If the next one wasn't so strong, I would have gone with Kill Your Darlings, number 1. I also hesitate to pick a number 1 from a pick of the week all the time, and I'm trying not to do that because I know it's easy to get excited for a new series and to that new car smell. I'm trying to not get caught up so much in that and just try to pick the best book that I enjoyed. And it's not too tough. Because my pick of the week this week was The Sacrificers, number 2. This series is by Rick Remender. It's by Image Comics, and so after the first issue, I really loved the first issue. I really loved it, and it was by far my pick of the week that week. And this one we follow the chosen sacrificers and their story. The story is starting to be kind of stretched out. So in the beginning, in issue 1, it felt a little confined. It felt a little narrow because we focus on a small area of the world. And now that's starting to expand, and we're getting a broader view of everything that's happening and everything that's going to happen. And we get lots of questions. We get questions posed by the characters, and we get some answers. We get an answer, and it's not quite, maybe it's what you're expecting. I was kind of expecting it to be this, but you also get the feeling that nothing is as it seems. So while we do get an answer, I'm not convinced it's really the answer. I think there's lots more that's going to happen here. We're in for a lot of surprises. We're in for the long haul in this one, and I can't wait to see what happens next. In the first issue, I talked a lot about the artwork doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the story. It does a lot. It felt very cinematic, and it did a lot of work in the storytelling department for the series for issue 1. Same thing happens in issue 2. Lots of the story is conveyed through the art, through the paneling, through the layouts, through the different scenes, through the character you know, characterization. It all works really well. Some great use of colors and even black panels, just pitch black. Things, you know, it's amazing how effective a black panel or a page of black panels can be when you use them effectively. When you use them the right way, you can really convey a lot in just some dialogue and some black panels. And that's what I really love about it. So this one is fantastic. I love this series. I'm in love with this series. I love it. I won't say I love it again, but I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, my pick of the week is The Sacrificers #2, another great issue. And like I said, the story is starting to really evolve and grow. And I love what they're doing with it. And you get the impression there's a lot more that we're going to learn about this world and about our characters and this journey that they're on. And I'm really anxious to find out what happens. And I hope it's a long series because I just can't get enough of it. So The Sacrificers #2, great stuff. Also, Kill Your Darlings is another great book. Really, really wonderful book that has kept me thinking about it even a day after I've read it, just because very touching. It has heart. It has heart, and you can't say that very often. That's the one thing that I took away from it, is it has heart. It has that, it just kind of gets you, you know, it kind of makes you think and grips you by your heartstrings. So I really appreciate that. So again, sorry for last week. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about. If you'd like to connect with me, the best place is on our forums, like I mentioned, at pagechewing.com. You can also go pagechewing.com/forum, and then I'll take you there too. Just register for an account, and I check several times a day, so I will approve your membership. If you register for an account, it might take me a couple hours, but I check pretty frequently. So I hope you all are having a fantastic week. Let me know what you're reading or what you're up to, how things have been going for you, if you are able to interact with me. But until next week, I hope we're all doing fantastic. And I'd love to hear what you're reading, or if you have any recommendations for me, please reach out and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, we will talk to you soon.